In the book Hell of the Dead, a death cult in Papua New Guinea stalks a mother and her child. One of the more terrifying set pieces in the book sees the cult brutally attacking a group of soldiers with sticks and stones, and winning. Based on actual events, the attack is just one scary example of what a death cult can do. Here are 4 true and disturbing death cult stories. In the quiet town of Kirtland, Ohio, a storm was brewing. Not a natural one, but a spiritual one. And at the center of it all was a man who believed the dead were coming back to reclaim the world. Jeffrey Lundgren wasn't born a prophet. He wasn't even born dangerous. He was just a man who knew the scriptures and knew how to twist them. By the late 1980s, he'd gathered a small group of followers, ordinary people, families, anyone who felt lost. To them, he preached a simple message. The dead are watching. The dead are waiting. And the dead are coming back to judge the living. Lundgren claimed he could hear the voices of the spirits. He said they demanded obedience and sacrifice. In April 1989, his followers carried the Avery family, a mother, father, and 3 children, into a barn. Lundgren declared they were chosen. Chosen to die. Chosen to appease the spirits. When investigators later uncovered the bodies, they found them buried in a mass grave. No ritual markings. No prophecy fulfilled. Just brutality wrapped in the language of the dead. During his trial, Lundgren showed no remorse. He said the spirits had already judged him. And when he was executed years later, his final words were chilling. I will rise again. Some locals swear they still see a shadowy figure near the old farm, just standing, watching, as if waiting for the dead to speak once more. Mexico's devotion to Santa Muerte, the Holy Death, is complicated. To most, she's a guardian, a protector of the weak and forgotten, but to others, she's a collector. Police throughout Mexico have come across shrines unlike anything they've seen. Bones, blood, and photographs of the deceased. Offerings made not to honor death, but to appease her. And then the killings began. One of the most frightening cases happened in Nuevo León. Authorities found a body inside a warehouse, surrounded by candles and symbols of Santa Muerta. The killers claimed the victim owed death a debt. They told investigators they believed the dead themselves had whispered instructions in their sleep, voices saying, "Pay what you owe." Another case in Mexico City involved a woman who vanished after seeking protection from Santa Muerte. Her family found her belongings at a shrine, including a note. The dead wanted her. I only delivered the message. Forensic teams often discover no signs of struggle, no forced entry. Victims simply disappear. In some neighborhoods, people refuse to walk past large Santa Muerte shrines at night. They say the candles flicker when no wind blows. They say you can hear footsteps behind you. Soft, slow, as if someone is calculating whether you owe a debt. Surabaya, Indonesia. A city alive with noise, traffic, and vibrant culture. But beneath the surface, a darker story once unfolded. A story about fear and the dead who refused to stay silent. In the early 1990s, police uncovered a strange religious group operating in the outskirts of Surabaya. They believed that evil spirits were stalking them, and that only blood sacrifices could keep them away. Members told investigators that the spirits grew stronger at night. They claimed they could feel cold hands brushing their skin, hear whispers in empty rooms, see shadowy figures standing at their bedsides. Their leader insisted that only killing someone would reset the balance and force the ghosts to retreat. Over several months, the group carried out ritualistic murders. Victims were lured by promises of divine protection, then killed at dawn when the spirits were said to be weakest. When authorities raided the compound, they found altars smeared with dried blood, symbols carved into wood, and journals describing the spirits they believed stalked them. One entry read, "We killed to survive. The dead were coming. We could hear them in the walls." The group was arrested. But the house? Locals say no one will live there. They claim the spirits the cult feared never left. Some nights, neighbors say they see lights flicker inside the abandoned home and hear voices whisper from the second floor, even though the windows are broken and the electricity is long gone. The border city of Matamoros was already dangerous in the 1980s. But things turned truly hellish when Adolfo Constanzo, cartel member, sorcerer, and self-proclaimed prophet, formed his cult. Constanzo blended drug trafficking with ritual magic. He told his followers something terrifying. The dead would protect them. The dead would make them unstoppable. The dead would make them invincible. Inside a shed on the ranch, Constanzo built a ritual cauldron filled with bones, blood, and human remains. Every sacrifice, he said, fed the spirits that guarded them. Then came the most disturbing part. Members believed Constanzo could make them bulletproof. Police later testified that cartel soldiers charged them during raids after being shot multiple times without slowing down. One officer said they looked gone, like the dead were moving them. The spell ended on May 6, 1989, during a massive firefight. Constanzo died, not by a cop's gun, but by his own order. He demanded one of his followers shoot him to pass his power to the next world. When police stormed the ranch, they found the ritual cauldron still warm, bones still inside. In the book, The Creeping City, reality has broken down. The spirit world bleeds through. However, ghost cities do exist. Although they might not be haunted, they are filled with unease, creepiness, and sometimes evil. Here are 4 true and disturbing ghost cities. In the vast deserts of Inner Mongolia, China, lies a city built for hundreds of thousands, but inhabited by only a few. Ordos Kangbashi was meant to be a shining example of modern urban planning. Planners imagined a bustling metropolis of over 1 million people, full of commerce and life. But when construction ended, the streets were empty. Skyscrapers gleamed in the sun, their glass facades reflecting a city without footsteps. Shops waited for customers who never arrived. Apartment towers stood vacant, furnished and ready, but without a single family inside. The world began to call it China's ultimate ghost city. Some blame speculative planning, overambitious development, or government miscalculations. Others point to its isolation, miles from any real economic hub, leaving it a concrete skeleton of what could have been. Walking through Kangbashi today is surreal. Silent streets, empty traffic lights, and the distant hum of a few maintenance crews echo through the city's endless avenues. It's a monument to ambition, and a reminder that even the most carefully designed cities can fail when people don't arrive to inhabit them. High in the mountains of California lies Bodie, an old gold mining town preserved in a state known as arrested decay. Founded during the California Gold Rush, Bodie thrived in the late 1800s. Homes, saloons, and churches were built in a rush to support the miners and their families. At its peak, Bodie had thousands of residents, with a reputation for lawlessness, gunfights, and saloons filled with the scent of whiskey and smoke. But as the gold dwindled, so did the town. Families left, miners moved on, shops shuttered. Today, Bodie is a state historic park, left exactly as it was when the last residents departed. Wooden buildings sag under the weight of time. Rusted wagons rest where they were abandoned. Personal items, newspapers, and even old bottles remain frozen in place. Walking Bodie is like stepping into a photograph from the 1800s. The wind whistles through empty streets. The shadows of the past seem to linger in every window frame. Bodie does not need ghosts to feel haunted. The town itself is a testament to the impermanence of human ambition and the relentless march of time. Perched atop a rocky hill in southern Italy, Krakow was once a bustling medieval town. Its origins stretch back centuries, but nature would not forgive its location. Landslides and earthquakes made life increasingly dangerous. By the 1960s, the residents had no choice but to abandon their homes, leaving churches, palaces, and cobblestone streets to the elements. Today, Krakow stands frozen in time. Narrow streets wind between crumbling walls. Windows gape like hollow eyes. The town seems to watch you, silent and patient, waiting for visitors to step carefully along its paths. Despite its desolation, Krakow has drawn attention from around the world. Filmmakers have used it as a backdrop for major movies, from The Passion of the Christ to Quantum of Solace. Walking Krakow is a journey through history. Every stone and stairway a memory of those who once lived there. Their voices long gone, but their presence unmistakable. Along the old Route 66, straddling the Texas-New Mexico border, lies Glen Rio, a town frozen in the moment America's highways moved on. Once a lively stop for travelers, Glen Rio had motels, diners, and service stations. Families ran businesses, travelers rolled in, and the neon signs glowed bright at night. But in the 1970s, the construction of Interstate 40 bypassed the town completely. Overnight, Glen Rio's lifeblood disappeared. Visitors no longer stopped. Businesses closed. Families packed up and left. Today, Glen Rio is a ghost town of rusting signs, empty gas pumps, and shuttered motels. Walking the streets of Glen Rio is like stepping into a forgotten movie set. A town preserved not for history, but for the silence left behind. In the book Terror Rising, the laws of nature have begun to unravel. Gravity falters and unseen forces seep into the world. However, strange phenomena are not limited to fiction. Across Europe and beyond, there are places where the rules of physics break down, leaving mystery, unease, and sometimes fear in their wake. Here are 4 disturbing places defying reality. In 2011, a team of Swedish divers investigating the Baltic Sea made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. On the seafloor, 90 meters below the surface, lay a massive object. Its shape was unlike anything known. Smooth, circular, and unnaturally geometric, with angles and lines that suggested it was not a natural formation. Some have speculated it could be a meteorite or the remnants of an ancient shipwreck. But sonar scans revealed something stranger. It casts a perfect shadow, as if it were hovering slightly above the seafloor. Divers reported strange currents around it, instruments malfunctioning, and a feeling of intense unease, as if the object itself was resisting investigation. Scientists remain baffled. Across Europe, drivers have reported something truly unnerving. On certain isolated roads, cars appear to roll uphill against the pull of gravity when placed in neutral. Liquids in containers tilt strangely. Compass needles spin unpredictably. In Romania, Poland, and Germany, these gravity hills have existed for centuries. Travelers who dared to stop or leave their vehicles were said to feel an oppressive weight, as if the Earth itself was pushing back. Scientists explain this as an optical illusion, where the horizon and terrain trick your eyes. But eyewitnesses insist the experience is undeniable, and in some cases, objects seem to move far too convincingly to be explained away by a slope. Off the Baltic coast lies a tiny, nearly forgotten island locals call Placebo Island. Here, fishermen have long reported strange magnetic and gravitational effects. Boats drift without currents. Anchors refuse to settle. Metal objects bend inexplicably. Even modern instruments sometimes malfunction near the island. Scientists have tried to measure anomalies, reading unusual magnetic fields and slight distortions in gravity. Folklore mixes with fact. Legends of spirits or ancient relics buried beneath the soil are whispered from one generation to the next. Some say the island itself is alive in a way that defies logic, a natural force field lurking just beneath the surface. Some strange reports come from remote caves scattered across Europe, from the Carpathians to the Alps. Locals tell stories of objects that move on their own. Rocks roll uphill, water runs backward. Strange drafts make candles flicker in impossible ways. In some caves, explorers claim they can feel an invisible pressure, an unseen force resisting their movements. Geologists sometimes attempt measurements, but anomalies persist. There are minor disruptions in instruments, inexplicable currents of air, and subtle gravitational fluctuations. Some scientists suggest mineral deposits could create strange magnetic effects. Others think folklore has exaggerated the phenomena over centuries. Those who have spent hours in these caves report a common experience, a sense that the natural rules are bending, that the world, for a moment, is not the world we thought we knew. In the short story Subhuman, found in the book Demonica, a voyage across the Atlantic results in an apocalyptic nightmare. However, real life is more terrifying. Here are 4 true and disturbing sea stories. In 1947, distress signals crackled over the Strait of Malacca. All officers dead. I had died. When a rescue ship arrived, the crew of the SS Orang Medan was found dead. Faces frozen in terror, eyes wide, mouths open in silent screams. There were no signs of injury, struggle, or poison. Even more unsettling, the cause of death was never determined. Some say it was toxic gas. Others whisper of a curse, or even the hand of something far more sinister lurking beneath the waves. Before investigators could reach firm conclusions, the ship mysteriously caught fire and sank, and the truth was swallowed by the ocean. The USS Cyclops, a massive Navy cargo ship, vanished in 1918 with 306 crew members aboard. No distress signals, no wreckage, nothing. It disappeared somewhere between Barbados and Baltimore, a stretch of ocean that seemed ordinary, yet hid a secret tragedy. Even today, the fate of the Cyclops remains a mystery. Hurricanes? Sabotage? Something unnatural? Whatever happened, the crew vanished as if the sea had simply swallowed them whole, leaving only speculation behind. The MV Joyita, a merchant vessel, was discovered adrift in the Pacific in 1955. It appeared intact, cargo untouched, navigation equipment working, but the crew? Gone. There were no signs of struggle, no lifeboats, nothing to explain their disappearance. Some investigators suggested piracy. Others believed it was a sudden, catastrophic event. But the more the Joyita was examined, the stranger it became. The ship's log had gaps. Some equipment malfunctioned inexplicably. The mystery of the Joyita remains one of the most chilling stories of the open ocean. Not all ocean mysteries involve ships. In certain seas around the world, the water itself sometimes glows in ethereal neon colors at night. These bioluminescent waters can be caused by microorganisms, but sailors report more than just natural phenomena. Boats seem to move strangely through the glowing waves. Compasses misbehave, and the light often appears suddenly, as if the ocean is alive, watching, and warning. It's breathtaking and unsettling. A reminder that the sea is not only vast, but unpredictable. In the short story Slugger, found in the book Demonica, a Little League baseball game is played on an Indian burial ground. Something horrible happens. However, real life is more terrifying. Here are 3 true and disturbing baseball stories. Baseball is often called America's pastime, a game of strategy, skill, and tradition. But on September 23, 1903, the National League witnessed one of the most chaotic days in baseball history. A day when a single base-running error sparked a riot that injured players and fans alike. This is the story of Merkel's boner and the riot that followed. The New York Giants faced the Chicago Cubs in a crucial late-season matchup at the Polo Grounds. The game was tied in the bottom of the 9th. Giants star rookie Fred Merkel was on first base with 2 outs. Giants batter Al Bradell singled, allowing the apparent winning run to score. Fans stormed the field in celebration. But in the chaos, Merkel failed to touch second base, a fundamental requirement. Cubs players retrieved the ball and tagged second base. Umpire Hank O'Day called Merkel out. The game was nullified, and the Giants' victory was erased. Fans erupted in fury. Thousands of spectators flooded the field, yelling, pushing, attacking anyone in their way. Players, coaches, and umpires were assaulted by fans trying to reclaim the stolen win. Reports indicate several minor injuries occurred, including bruises and knocked out teeth. Some players were pelted with objects thrown from the stands. The scene was total chaos. The first major riot directly caused by a rule enforcement in baseball history. The game had to be resumed weeks later, and the Cubs were eventually awarded the victory, contributing to their 1907-1908 championship dominance. Merkel became a symbol of base-running disaster, immortalized in baseball lore, but the real story is the human chaos. On August 16, 1920, baseball fans in Cleveland witnessed a moment that would forever haunt the sport. Ray Chapman, the 23-year-old shortstop for the Cleveland Indians, stepped up to the plate. Known for his grit, skill, and fiery spirit, Chapman was at the height of his game. On the mound stood Carl Mays, a pitcher notorious for his submarine delivery, a low underhand throw that made the ball rise unexpectedly. As Chapman took his stance, Mays unleashed a fastball that would change baseball history. The ball struck Chapman directly in the head, sending him collapsing to the dirt in an instant. Fans screamed. Teammates rushed to his side. Despite immediate medical attention and a frantic rush to the hospital, Ray Chapman died later that day. He remains the only Major League Baseball player to die from an on-field injury. The death sent shockwaves through the baseball world. Umpires and leagues introduced rules requiring cleaner, less scuffed baseballs as dirty balls were harder to see and contributed to dangerous pitches. Decades later, the tragedy inspired the development of batting helmets, now a standard safety measure for players at all levels. Yet for fans and players of the era, the shadow of that day lingered. Every pitch carried a reminder. Even the safest stadiums could become sites of unimaginable tragedy. Tony Conegliaro, a 19-year-old phenom for the Boston Red Sox, was hailed as one of baseball's brightest young stars. Fast, fearless, and full of promise, he represented a new generation of talent. By 1967, Conegliaro was at the peak of his career, poised to become a legend. On August 18, 1967, during a routine game against the California Angels, Conegliaro stepped up to bat. A fastball, traveling at over 90 miles per hour, struck him squarely in the face. The impact shattered his eye socket and tore his retina. He nearly lost his life. Emergency surgery saved him, but the injury altered his vision permanently. Despite the tragedy, Conegliaro made a courageous attempt to return to the game. In 1969, he came back to the Red Sox lineup, but he never regained his former brilliance. The incident highlighted the fragility of life in baseball and underscored the dangers hidden in a sport celebrated for tradition, glory, and heroics. Doppelgängers. Exact doubles of ourselves, often appearing without warning. Across history, these spectral or uncanny doubles have been interpreted as omens of death, disaster, or misfortune. In the short story Doppelgänger, found in the book Demonica, a woman is seemingly haunted by herself. However, real life is more terrifying. Here are true and disturbing doppelganger sightings. Some of history's most powerful figures reported seeing their own doubles, often as harbingers of doom. Abraham Lincoln, long before his assassination in 1865, reportedly saw a ghostly double of himself in mirrors and in visions. Contemporary accounts suggest that Lincoln described seeing a shadowy, lifeless figure standing behind him, a vision that unnerved him deeply. Some historians interpret this as an early omen of his impending death. Queen Elizabeth I of England was said to have seen her reflection manifest a second eerily identical figure while alone in a mirror. Members of her court reportedly interpreted this apparition as a warning of political turmoil or personal danger. These early accounts show that even the most powerful people could be unsettled by the uncanny presence of themselves. Doppelgangers have also appeared on the battlefield, often in moments of extreme stress or imminent danger. During World War I, soldiers reported seeing exact likenesses of themselves in the trenches. Some saw these doubles hours or minutes before major battles or fatal attacks. Troops believed that encountering your double was a death omen or a warning of impending injury. Some soldiers even refused to engage in combat after seeing their spectral selves, fearing the encounter signaled their demise. These accounts are not just folklore. They appear in military diaries, letters, and reports, suggesting that the doppelganger phenomenon is both historical and terrifyingly consistent across time. Even cultural icons and geniuses have reported encounters with their doubles. Mark Twain, the celebrated author, allegedly saw his own double appear unexpectedly, causing him to reportedly step back in shock, convinced he was witnessing a premonition. Nikola Tesla, the inventor of alternating current and a pioneer in electricity, described seeing a shadowy version of himself standing silently in his lab. Tesla interpreted the apparition as a signal that an unusual or dangerous event was imminent, consistent with reports of his obsessive, almost mystical approach to invention. In the short story The Rot, from the book Tombstone Serenade, a desperate group flees a deadly plague across 19th century America. But sometimes, reality is far more terrifying than fiction. The Old West was a land of lawlessness, disease, and death, a place where danger could strike at any moment, and survival was never guaranteed. Here are some true and disturbing Old West stories. In the fall of 1857, a wagon train of Arkansas immigrants, families seeking a new life in California, entered the Utah Territory. Unbeknownst to them, tensions were high between the Mormon settlers and the U.S. government, fueled by rumors of approaching troops. The immigrants were intercepted by a Mormon militia disguised as Native Americans. What began as a warning quickly escalated into something far more sinister. For days, the travelers were surrounded, threatened, and deceived. Then, in a horrifying turn, the militia massacred nearly 120 men, women, and children, leaving only a handful of young children alive. Survivors described the cold efficiency and brutal planning of the attackers. The massacre became a national scandal. Investigations revealed complicity at multiple levels, but justice was slow and incomplete. Some perpetrators were never punished. Mountain Meadows is remembered as one of the most horrific massacres in American frontier history, a grim example of how fear, fanaticism, and distrust could turn neighbors into killers. In the 1870s and 1880s, Black Bart, also known as Charles Bolton, became one of the Wild West's most infamous stagecoach robbers. Unlike other outlaws, Black Bart was polite and deliberate, leaving behind poetic messages at the scenes of his crimes. Despite this strange courtesy, his crimes terrified remote towns across Northern California. Stagecoaches carrying gold or cash could be targeted without warning, leaving drivers and passengers in mortal danger. Eventually, law enforcement caught up with Black Bart. He was imprisoned, but his crimes left a legacy of fear and fascination. The frontier was filled with men killing for wealth. Townsfolk often armed themselves, patrolling roads for weeks at a time. Black Bart's polite demeanor could not mask the constant threat of death that hung over the frontier. The late 19th century brought waves of prospectors to the gilded mines of Colorado and Arizona, promising untold wealth to those brave enough to risk the frontier. But the frontier was harsh and unforgiving. Miners faced explosions, collapses, disease, and starvation. Many towns rose quickly around these mines, only to fall just as quickly when tragedy struck. Some mines gained a reputation as cursed, where every attempt to extract gold or silver seemed to invite disaster. Families lived in fear. Miners died mysteriously. Ghost stories grew alongside abandoned shafts. In Colorado, for example, the town of Animas Forks thrived during the silver boom, but was soon abandoned after a series of fatal accidents, harsh winters, and dwindling ore. The legends of cursed mines persisted, warning new arrivals that greed could summon death faster than any outlaw or storm.